I go, Nick, this is going to be on television, get dressed up, and I love, he's like, these are my dress clothes.
Well, he's representing Nashville, 615.
That's his brand. No, that's literally his brand.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show. Tonya Esquibel here every Saturday from noon to 1, the original real estate show right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Helping people discover home ownership, what is their financial DNA, finding out your purchasing power. If you'd like to call our local team, standing by, 615-300-0794, 615-300-0794. I have my wonderful co-host in studio with me, Kim Hollingshead with Hollingshead & Associates, real estate attorney. And we have a special show for you guys today.
Yeah.
Special guest in that is really representing 615. And you got to literally go to our YouTube to really see how cool he's representing 615. Yes. So Nick Woodard is going to be joining us and going to tell us all about real estate. And let's hear it from your perspective. Are you from Nashville? Let our listeners know.
Hey guys.
Who you are.
I'm actually, I grew up in Brentwood. Moved here when I was about 7 years old, which I believe was in 88. And I grew up in the old school Brentwood, back when, it was kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. All the horse farms and everything.
Absolutely. I remember before the mall was here, before, there was even an exit ramp there on Concord Road. So, kind of been here from the very beginning.
Wow, you watched it come up.
I done watched it come up.
It's fancy now.
So they call it unicorns. You're not a unicorn, but I think since 7 years old, you're pretty close to it. I moved here in 97.
Well, it's fascinating
Texas.
to me. There aren't, a ton of us still around. Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot of people that actually grew up here. Everybody you come across is, they think that they've been here forever. They've only been here 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, that's my favorite. When they're like, oh, I remember when this building wasn't even here in the Gulch. And I'm like,
it's like the Gulch.
Yeah, before the Thompson Hotel. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's interesting.
How old are you?
So what got you into real estate? How long have you been doing it?
Man, I've been doing it for about 19 years. Real estate was something I was going to do until I figured out what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And here I am 19 years later. So awesome. To me, it came second nature. Again, I'm from here. I know the ins and outs and seen the growth. And, I grew up in Williamson County schools. So I know the high demand for people coming from out of state to get into the school systems. And, so it's just, again, something that I was going to piddle around with until I found out what I wanted to do and made a career out of it.
Because we talk about this a lot, and that's why I started the radio show probably, 18 or 19 years ago, was to provide education. So you got to think when you go to school and you go high school and then you go to college, there's no degree to be a real estate person. There's no degree to do mortgages, to be a loan officer, but we're both representing one of the biggest purchases that you're ever going to make. And so there's such a need for education. And I feel like some of the best people stumble upon it and then just find out not only the value of building a career, but also the value of helping so many others learn how to build wealth around real estate. And I was that person too. I was going to school to be a biology teacher. It's so funny. And I got my associate degree, and here I am going, I'm going to get my bachelor's and I'm going to be a biology teacher. And literally I was waiting tables to put myself through college and bartending. And I was making more money doing that because at the time, this was a long time ago, obviously, I would have come out making $18,000 a year. And I was making more than that, bartending and stuff years ago. So I think there's such a need for education. That's what I hear when I interview millennials, and when I interview Gen Z clients. I continue to talk about that because it's so fun to me to hear the millennials that, they went through the housing bubble. They want to tap the brakes. They wait till 28 to 32 on average. But Gen Z is all about wanting to know how to buy homes right now. They're what they say, and these are, college grads. There's just no education around it. So it is crazy how one of the biggest things that builds wealth in our nation, and the freedom of home ownership is, not taught in our school system. And most of the time people really stumble upon it, just like I did.
So true.
Mm-hmm. Learn more once you get out in the world as well. I went to Middle Tennessee State, graduated from there after Brentwood High School. Mm-hmm. Again, didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. So it was kind of learn as you go. And then within, 3-4 years, you every deal you do, you try to learn something from. And I think there's a lot of education you can't get at school. You have to get it experiencing it.
Hard knocks on the streets.
Oh, agree. I mean, I did go to school for what I do, right? So I went to law school. They don't teach title in law school. So there's a lot that we just don't learn in school, even if that program is available. But now, wait a minute. You guys are licensed. You guys do have to be, go through your licensure. So you guys are educated, licensed professionals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, a lot of people that go to school to figure out what they want to do, a lot of times it doesn't come until a little bit later in life.
True. And we don't always do what we went to school to do, like Tonya said.
Can you see me dissecting frogs right now?
Yes, I can, actually. That's what's weird
or going and
about
catching
it.
for my bug collection for, like my biology class for my high schoolers.
Yes.
No, you cannot.
I can't.
I would rather go look at staging and that kind of stuff.
Well, you regularly have your nose in a book. I guess that's why I can believe
you see
that
the
you would
nerdy
be
side of me.
I do see the nerdy side.
Yeah, 100%. So obviously our market has had a major shift from the standpoint of first quarter of last year. We saw multiple bids, asking price over and above what the market has ever seen since I've been here. I've been here since 1997. So it was a unique market. And then it really changed, in my opinion, really quick starting last June. And even coming into first quarter of this year, it's still a different market. And I don't mean a different market in a negative way, because we still have a healthy market, I feel like. What is your opinion? Is it back to normal? Is it people just sitting on the fence because they're concerned about interest rates rising? Like, from your perspective, because you're the front ground person talking to consumers, and I always get confused with that, because I'm like, they should call and get the money first, but they want the house
Yes,
before they
should.
money.
They absolutely should.
Yes. So you get to hear their concerns and stuff before we do. So what are you seeing with the market shift?
Well, I guess the question is, what's quote unquote back to normal? Because what it was not normal. Everything going that quickly, such high demand like that, that was not necessarily normal. So I think things kind of got back to a place where we kind of keep things in check, which I think is definitely healthier. What I'm seeing is that higher price point seems to still be moving. We have a lot of money coming from out of state, California, New York.
What higher price point? What sales price would you
I would
put on
say $1.5 million and up.
Okay.
I think the $5 to $1 million is the one I'm seeing kind of slow a little bit, because I think interest rates really affect those people significantly, and so we're starting to see a little bit more inventory come up. This time last year there was very little inventory, and that created the bidding wars and all that. So. I think it's just people are unsure what's going to happen with rates, and people don't realize that's such a huge factor in their decision-making process. So I'm hoping this spring, kicks back up. But right now, I don't want to say it's a holding pattern, but it's people are more cautious than they were. Let's put it that way.
You mean to list their home?
Both listings,
list
but
and buy.
I think a lot of people listing their home now saw the huge wave and they're like, I want to jump on it, and then it may have already passed. But again, Nashville's its own little bubble. We see things that we don't really see everywhere else. People are flooding here. I've had more clients from the state of California in the past 2 years than 16 years of my career before those 2 years combined.
Wow. And you're a local boy, so, real estate really is local.
Absolutely.
So they do want to call somebody like you who's just been in Williamson County his whole life.
I appreciate that, Kim.
Well, yeah. He knows all the back roads.
Yes,
I
that's
do.
awesome. All right, well, we're coming up to a break. We got to take a break right now. If you're just now tuning in, we have Nick Woodard in with us in studio, my co-host Kim Hollingshead. Stay tuned. We're talking about this market shift. What does it look like? Is it still a good time to buy? And you got to stay tuned to figure that out next, because Nick has given us a lot of great information of what he's seeing from as a local, basically, in this market, and how Nashville is a different market than what we're used to. You're listening to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome back to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show. Tonya Esquibel here with Cross Country Mortgage Southeast Regional Manager, helping families achieve American dream of home ownership. My co-host doing the same thing, Kim Hollingshead with Hollingshead and Associate. If you would like to find out what a discovery looks like for your finances and home ownership, find out your purchasing power in today's market, give us a call. It's complimentary, 615-300-0794, 615-300-0794. You can also, if you're just tuning in and want to listen to our first segment, you can go to our podcast. We also have it now on YouTube, and you can go to Instagram at Meet Tonya and Tonya Esquibel at Facebook. We've got all these social platforms now.
Wow.
It's like overwhelming sometimes, isn't it? But our biggest guest today is Nick Woodard, and he is in studio with us and has been pretty much a local. You've been here since you're 7 years old.
Yep.
We've talked a little bit about the market shift and what we're seeing. And like Nashville is a very special market compared to when you're looking at other places in the United States. Like people are wanting to move here and be a part of, real estate, be a part of the lifestyle that's here. So Nick, going into this segment, what would be like if someone wanted to, we'll do two things. We'll do a segment about if you're a seller and you're thinking of listing your home, and we'll cover that this segment. But I would also love to hear, coming from a buyer's standpoint, if you're a buyer in this market, what are the advantages of being a buyer? But let's start this segment with just as a seller, what would you recommend to a seller? Because what I see on the mortgage side is you've got the seller that's got the best rate that history has ever offered them, right. 2 7/8 to 3 1/4. Why would I sell and give up that? Because the market has moved, the market has shifted. What would you give your advice to your seller in those regards?
Well, it all depends on what you're trying to get out of it, or why are you selling? Are you moving out of state? Or are you trying to upgrade your home? What's your play? As far as selling, marketing, everything now is done online. And I don't say not everything, but you have to have a strong online presence for your property. So, you got to find an agent that spends the money on pictures and video and editing and all that stuff. The game's changed. It used to be able to, just make the home available and the home would sell itself. That's not the case anymore. Just like, you got to treat it like a corporation does. They spend so much money advertising their brand and getting it out there. We have to do that now. The content game is kind of taken over a little bit.
So one of the things that, because I went through this myself and being in the business for 28 years, this was a couple years ago. I was like, do I buy a home now with really low rates and overpriced pay, right? At the end of the day, if you look at it blended together, if I would have got a discount on the home and maybe my rate would have been a little bit higher, I still would have had a good investment. Like it would have blended together. So I think my standpoint is talking to consumers today is you're married to a rate, to a home that you will probably not be in more than 5 years. And now is an opportunity to look at buying a new home, maybe to look at upgrading your home, because when we were here, a year ago, you had people offering 50, 60,000 or even more above asking price. So even if your rate might go into that low 5% range, or maybe you decide to do a 10-year ARM, lock in for a decade, those kind of things to keep your payments low, you still have a good opportunity to move up, sell your home, still get a good value, and then move up and be able to negotiate to maybe get some costs that your seller wasn't paying before or your builder wasn't paying before. So I feel like that it's a perception of being married to a rate right now, instead of looking at this is still an investment. You're getting emotionally attached to a rate, which you should never do. It's an investment. And we talk about diversifying investments and, putting other purchases in there. So it would be interesting to hear your thought on that, because I see it from a rate standpoint, people not wanting to move when it comes to sellers, but that should not be the only thing stopping them. And if it is a relocation or a move up or move down, but just even that move up buyer is sitting there thinking, I can't move up because can I afford it, when they're not even really getting the data to know if they can afford it, or the data to know what they could sell their home for. And maybe the $1 million, $2 million, $3 home that was out there a year ago, they can get, a $50,000 incentive around. What's your thoughts on that side?
Well, I think two thoughts on that. One is we kind of got to a place where everybody looks at real estate. Yes, it's a huge investment, but it's also your way of life. A lot of people are like, it's all about investment. How much can I make on it? What's this going to bring me in the end? But there's also a quality of life factor here.
That's a good point.
So, live where you want to live. Raise your kids where you want to raise your kids. The community is more important. I'm a father of 3. So to me, that kind of trumps the other aspect of this. Williamson County, Middle Tennessee, I've been doing this for 18 years and I've seen it fluctuate a little. But in all reality, I've never really seen a crash. You haven't seen a crash. You haven't seen a huge drop. We had a 08, 09, 2-3 year, blip. But in all reality, in the long run, it was nothing compared to the rest of the country.
Right.
100% correct.
And over time, obviously, the homes continue to go up in appreciation.
Sure. And the other side of that is, okay, yes, rates may be a little bit on the higher side, but what's the alternative? Are you going to rent? Rents have shot through the roof.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
right.
And you're
they
building
continue.
no equity.
Absolutely.
You're
Yeah.
not building anything. And I think that's sometimes what people don't understand. And so I was doing an education class for some people about a week ago. And, the average rate for the last 20 years is 7.75.
Yeah.
And we're still a really great rate. It's just, I think sometimes it's the news that you're listening to. And I just want our listeners to know that, Nashville is Middle Tennessee is a good investment. And I say Nashville, Williamson County,
Sure,
obviously
sure.
Sumner, Wilson, Middle Tennessee is probably a better word for that. Is still a great place to have an investment. And why would you continue to pay high rent? Or if you're sitting in a home and you're married to your rate but you don't like your home, you don't like your community, just know that we've got professionals like Nick that can help you explore what it looks like to sell. We can help identify from a lending standpoint of what your purchasing power looks like. Even though your rate might be up a little bit more, like I said, there might be opportunities because sellers are willing to negotiate. I have some builders and stuff right now that are paying $30,000 to $50,000 toward incentives to get a rate buy down. So even though you see on the news rates are at this level, you might could get a much lower rate if you apply the incentives toward that. And I know sellers are negotiating a little bit more than they used to too, outside of new construction and builders. But I just don't want people to just to sit still without having the knowledge. And that is where your expertise comes in from a seller standpoint to say, I think I'm selling my home. I just don't know if it's the right decision. And I don't want them to, sit there and keep thinking about it when you've got someone that is a local that's been here. Like you said, we did have a blip in 08 and 09, but nothing compared to what the rest of the country, went through. So if you're sitting there as a seller and you're thinking, well, I'm married to my rate, don't really like my house. My wife wants a brand new kitchen. She wants a brand new closet, master custom closet. And you're like, but we can't do it because I got a 3 1/4. You need to call Nick today. Call us so you can actually look at the financial aspect of what that decision looks like and not so much be married to that rate because rates are still really historically low. So Nick Woodard's here in studio with us. And thank you so much for coming in. Our local team's always standing by. 615-300-0794, website nickwoodard.com that you can go to. And Kim, what is your, you get the glory of everything. I'm always like, we're the one back here pulling our hair. And he's running around, doing comms, driving everyone everywhere. Do I like this bathroom, this house? Or I'm doing this listing presentation and going through this. And I feel like we're zzz, going everywhere. And then I'm back here on the backside and my brain's going, zzz, now that's your credit. Wait, you didn't tell me about that debt. Oh, okay. Oh, wait, I know I can get it done. I'm going to get this deal because, I'm an underwriter background. So I'm I challenge the underwriters all the time. And so we're back here going, and you get there and you get to come in all sassy and be like, congratulations, sign your document.
Hey,
She
guys.
keeps us all out of jail, though.
She does, yes.
That's right. I keep everyone compliant.
You do keep us compliant, but you do get the joy of the homeowner.
I love closings.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. Yeah, you're right. I do get to celebrate with everybody with that bottle of champagne at the table, and I tell everyone, this is the easy part, you guys. I get the easy part. This is going to be over in a flash.
And you make the closings spectacular.
Oh,
and
thank
that's
you.
why I love having my clients come to you. And I always tell our listeners, you always have a choice to a title company, and that would be Kim Hollingshead. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about Nick and what's happening in the real estate market. We are going to be talking about the buyer side. Why should a buyer? We just finished up a segment about sellers, if you were thinking about selling your home. Now we're going to talk about what are the benefits of buying right now in this market. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Tonya Esquibel Show right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In studio with me, if you're just now tuning in, is Kim Hollingshead with Hollingshead and Associates, and we also have Nick Woodard, real estate agent, that is giving us a wealth of knowledge of what he is seeing from his perception. So I know we were going to talk about before the break, like what's motivation for buyers, but also I want this to be your stage and your platform for a roundtable discussion of what your talking notes are too. But first, let's just hit on a little bit about the buyers, and then you just take it from here.
Sure.
Okay. So buyers, why would I buy? Why would I buy right now?
Why would I buy? People are flooding here. So, where are you leaving? A, B, what are you coming here for? A lot of people are coming here because they hear the school districts. We've got some of the highest rated schools in the entire country. In my opinion, is the school districts are what's keeping the property values up. At least that's my opinion. People do their own research now, so they can find all this information on the internet. So I have clients that approach me that are like, hey, I've already done all the research. This school, and this school are rated this, and this. Can you find us a house, that goes to one of these schools?
Gotcha. Is that more so for people relocating in, or do you see that as just people moving here geographically within one county to the other?
Mainly people coming from out of state.
Okay.
A lot of people that are in surrounding counties, which those have great schools as well. Those are ranked higher than many others in the country as well. But I think as you get closer to Williamson County, those counties' school districts are improving as well. So I think as we're growing as a whole, it's spreading out, from Nashville, from Williamson County, and it's just growing outwardly.
Got you. What do you think? We've talked about, if you're just now tuning in, during the opening of the show, we talked about how the market is so different than it was last year at this time, first quarter of last year, coming into this year. Do you see any buyers what do you think that is holding anyone back? If they are sitting on the fence, what do you think that is that's holding them back?
Well, just like anything else, it's uncertainty. Uncertainty, people always try to time the market, which as well as anybody, that's impossible to do. I think the thing that I like right now in this market is buyers have the opportunity to process things. Last year, I didn't like that. I'm not a salesman at heart. I'm a connector. I want to connect a buyer to a property, a seller to a buyer. Back last year, it was just you're under fire constantly. It's like we find a house. Oh, my spouse needs to see it. Sorry, put in the offer now. Like that that's not healthy. So I think now we have the opportunity. I want my clients to go into a home, see if it fits your needs. Go home, sleep on it, pray about it. This is a huge decision. Yeah. And I think we are now back to a healthy stage where you're not under the gun. You're not feeling that tension and that pressure to make a decision that you may regret later.
Yeah.
And so I think it's actually getting to a healthier spot than it was last year, even though some people are on the fence because they're concerned about, the unknown. But of course, like I said before, my entire career, I've never seen it fall off. It's blipped a little bit, but Nashville as a whole has remained strong for the past 20 years at least.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the market that you're in now allows you to have a more fulfilling practice.
Absolutely. You
get to spend the time you want.
Yeah, I love spending time with people, getting to know them. I always say that, your realtor basically becomes family. A really good realtor becomes family. I know things about people that I probably shouldn't know. Their finances, their relationships, everything. You become a shrink. So
Yeah.
the past couple of years, I would feel the tension that my clients would feel. And I don't want that on anybody. So I think we're back to a place where you at least have time to process this massive decision before having to pull the trigger.
Yeah, because I mean, there were so many times that we would have buyers pre-approved and they would get so discouraged because they would win out on all these bids and they were just like, we're just going to sit back and wait. So that's a good point. Or you had the buyer that, I can't miss this house because I've already missed out on 10 others. I've got to buy this one. Maybe it wasn't the right fit. And so I do see some of those buyers that are now trying to sell their home because, like you mentioned in the show earlier, it's like community, maybe it's a school system that they didn't think about just because the market was so chaotic.
Yeah.
So, all right. Those are great points, great keys. You're listening to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show right here on Super Talk 99.7 from noon to 1. You can always call our local team, 615-300-0794. We have Nick Woodard in here, real estate agent, and Kim Hollingshead, real estate attorney, Hollingshead and Associates. And I want to just kind of, I guess, push the mic to you because this is your field and with real estate, and you do such a great job with your clients. You're passionate about it. I can hear it in your voice. I know from Kim's standpoint, inviting you on the show today. So tell us what you would want to share with our listeners today. So I'm going to give you the mic right now.
Okay. I just want to talk a little bit about the area that I live in. See, I grew up in Brentwood back when, it was country, like we talked about before. I live in Nolensville. Absolutely adore it. Nolensville is growing faster than almost any other city in the area, I believe, behind Murfreesboro, I believe. It still has that small town charm that a lot of people are looking for. Now, of course, the locals in Nolensville, a lot of them not liking the growth so much. But you know what? The secret's out. Middle Tennessee as a whole is a fantastic place to raise kids. And when I have people ask me, they hire me for my opinion. And they're like, Nick, what do you think? Where do you think is the best place for us to live? And I'll say, you know what? You have to make your own decision. I can show you the facts. I can show you the data. I can show you homes. But don't listen to what I say. Watch what I do. And I moved to Nolensville 7 or 8 years ago and raised my kids there. And the reason is because it gives me that feel of the same area that I grew up in and my wife grew up in. It has, everybody kind of knows everybody and knows what's going on, and, you feel safe. But most importantly, it's small town enough that I tell my kids that there's many, many people out there watching them, and they have my permission to whip their tail if they get out of line. So that's kind of the way I was raised, and it's one thing we love about that town. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It is a very tight-knit community.
It is.
I must say the people there are just such great people.
And it's really cool to see. Like I coached youth football for 6 or 7 years, and my son started it probably 7 years old. And you see these groups of kids that have stayed together for so long and gone through these organizations. And those are relationships that you wouldn't have unless you had those bonds together year after year after year.
Yeah.
And Nolensville has that kind of magic spark that a lot of these other areas don't have. A lot of cool boutiques and hangouts and that type, it's not all chain stores and
support locals.
Yeah,
local
it's
very local.
Absolutely.
What I love about Nolensville is it is a little bit insulated. So people who live in Franklin, even though it is Williamson County, Williamson County schools, and the people who live in Franklin don't tend to drive to Nolensville because the drive can be a little long for them. It's all back roads to get there. So it is like a little bit of an insulated small town, but then it's also very convenient to like Smyrna, Murfreesboro. I mean, where you can get anywhere.
Yeah,
from Nolensville.
we go to Smyrna to the Target just as much as we go to Franklin, the Cool Springs one.
Yeah, exactly.
You just kind of you put it in Waze and go, okay, they're both about the same distance. Which way's the traffic?
That's
what's
right.
the better way to go? So we go Smyrna most of the time.
That's right. But it does
yeah.
have all the conveniences of Franklin. Like it's got many of the same restaurants. I mean, it's
and it's rapidly growing, and I think that's something that yes, there's always some growing pains with that.
For sure.
Infrastructure, of course, you've got neighborhoods coming in, restaurants coming in, people moving in. We do need to do something with the road system that needs to be expanded.
Yeah.
And I believe that's something that is being worked on. But when you have rapid growth, that's what happens. We do have a Publix coming though. We're coming up.
Hey.
We used to have
legit.
a Piggly Wiggly.
It's
not there anymore.
So now you got a Publix.
We got a Publix.
Oh my gosh, yes. All right. So
Now, Kim knows about Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah.
She's from North Alabama.
That's
she gets
right.
it.
I'm a Bama girl.
Just
I'm from East Texas, so I totally get it because I used to go to the Piggly Wiggly, and I can't believe they still have one in West End. That's what's so funny. Like sometimes I have to go in there just to go back to my childhood days.
Got to go to the pig.
Yes. My husband laughs at me every time I drive by. I was like, Piggly Wiggly. All right, we got to take a break. We come back. I would like to maybe ask you what advice you would give someone that's just starting out. And the great information about Nolensville. It is a great little area for sure. I love the community. And you described that really well, Kim, as far as like it's in the city, but it is kind of isolated because it's not like, like Brentwood or Franklin right off the interstate. You kind of have to get off the interstate and travel a little bit to get there. So that keeps that community feel that I feel like, Nick, you were just talking about. So stay tuned. We'll be coming back and talking more about how can you get started? What are the first steps? What does it look like if you're thinking of stepping into homeownership for the first time, or maybe you're looking at moving up, selling a home, or it could be adding investment properties to your portfolio. You're listening to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here with Kim Hollingshead and Associates, real estate attorney. And we have Nick Woodard, realtor, that is helping share some really great knowledge, not only about if you're thinking of selling a home, what are some of those factors that you should consider, buying a home, what are some positives about this environment here in Nashville, also highlighting a wonderful community that you live in, that you love, Nolensville. That was a great segment. So if you missed that, please know that you can go to our podcast channel to be able to listen to it, also our YouTube channel. And always give us a call, 615-300-0794. Anything and all things to do with real estate to help create success. Because owning your own home is a success all on its own. It builds wealth. It also builds confidence too. And so what I see on this side of the fence sometimes, and even being in the business, like every time I apply for a loan, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to get approved? And I know,
Still,
like,
me too.
It's that factor of just like, you know what I mean? So,
Yes.
And I know the business. So so if you're out there and you're just thinking that, or you just don't want to go through the hassle and you're like, I'll just keep my house now, interest rates are still really low compared to the 20-year average. I mean, the 20-year average is 7.75%. So if you can still get in the 5s and low 6s, that's still a really great rate. But from a standpoint, I always say you should get your money first and find the house, but everyone wants the house and then they try to figure out their money. And, I get it. Sometimes I do that too. But what advice would you give someone that is maybe sitting on the fence and deciding, should I buy, should I wait? What is the cost of waiting, in your opinion?
Well, first and foremost, like you said before, talk to the lender first, please. From every realtor in Nashville is speaking through me right now, please talk to your lender first, because it gives you the confidence of knowing what you're getting into. A lot of people that go looking for houses, it is a very emotional thing. So a lot of times you go into it with stars in your eyes, and you get caught up in everything instead of know your numbers first. Mm-hmm. And what I tell my clients, it does not matter what you qualify for. It matters what you are comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because a lot of people will give you more money than they should, and a lot of people will give you, how do I put this properly? You never want to get in a position where you regret making a decision because you made an emotional purchase. Mm-hmm. So before you even get in the car with me, I always recommend you speak with your lender to get educated. know what you're comfortable with, know what rates are, know what your monthly payment is, add up what the other expenses are going to be, because you want this to be a really great experience. You don't want to get into it years down the road and it end up biting you because you didn't do your homework on the front end.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that just comes to, I always tell people, like, you can only learn so much from the internet, but you really need to talk to an expert that does it every single day. It's not always about the rate. Of course, everyone wants a good rate, but I think it's just a consumer, when they start going down this road, it's like, can I get approved? What is the interest rate? Who's got the best rate? And there's so much more to that, because like you said, you've got to figure out what makes them comfortable within their budget. What are their payment goals? What's their down payment goals? And then they're equipped to know with confidence, I can afford this sales price range. That gives you the knowledge to be able to start looking at homes in that range versus the opposite. Oh, I found this
Right.
really nice home. And then they're thinking the payment's $2,500, it's really $3,500, and then they get disgruntled.
I think a lot of people get intimidated. They're looking online and they get on these apps and mortgage apps and look at the numbers and everything without realizing there are people like us in the industry that we're teachers by heart. We want to educate them on the process of going through this. And so it's not as intimidating as you make it out to be in your head. There are very qualified people that genuinely want to hold your hand and educate you through this process. So you have to seek out those people that are not just trying to sell, but trying to educate you and explain everything to you so it is a comfortable, fun experience for you.
Yeah. And I always look at it too, from the real estate standpoint of, the market's changed. It doesn't matter how many years you've been doing it. Yes, it helps because you establish, an experience of different markets. But I feel like on my side, even though I've done it for 28 years, I still learn every single day. And from the real estate standpoint, you guys still learn every day because, the market changes beyond our control. And I always just recommend people to work with, like you said, a local expert that is passionate about education. Not that my friend that did, 2 real estate deals in the last 2 years. You've got to make sure that, again, it goes back to one of your biggest purchases that you're going to make, that you've got someone looking out for you that's identifying all those goals, and that you're not just being emotionally jumping into a home. And that's where, Nick, your expertise comes in. Even though you have almost 30 years experience doing it, you are always continuing to educate yourself on the changes of the market to be able to represent your clients the best that they can be. So if you guys would like to get some more information, 615-300-0794 is our local number standing by, 615-300-0794. Find out your purchasing power. All it is a discovery call to identify what your goals are and get your financing in place first. And then that way Nick can know exactly what your budget looks like from a money standpoint. And then he's the one to find you the perfect home.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm so excited that you were on today.
Yeah. So
This was
how do
fun.
people connect with you if they want to learn more about you?
Sure. You can go on my website, nickwoodard.com, or email me, nick@nickwoodard.com. Phone number, 615-566-9839.
And you have a very entertaining Instagram page.
Yes, I do. Thank you. It's
I
at
love
Nick
it.
Woodard Realtor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I love is your branding.
Yeah.
The 615.
And listeners, he promised me a hat, so I better get one, right, Kim?
Signed.
The
Signed.
615 hat and boots.
615 hat. Oh, I didn't know about the boots.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I got to see the boots.
615 hat and boots.
Wow.
Oh, man.
That's super cool. That's
I
awesome.
kind of got to a place where, everybody in town is just trying to be polished and uber professional. And
Yeah.
what you see is what you get.
You're rugged.
Look out, Kim.
Hey, it's working. That's all I gotta say. Yeah. So go check out his branding at nickwoodard.com, a wonderful real estate agent with a passion to help educate his consumers and be a part of, that experience. It is one of the biggest purchases you're going to make. Be sure and tune in next week to the Original Real Estate Show right here on Super Talk 99.7 and WTN from noon to 1, and have a blessed week. We good?
Yeah, great job. Oh, wait.
Wait.
Wait, no.
Tell me you got that on video.
That's good. I sent you a couple pictures.
She did get that on video.
Great.
That's like when you're crossing
I was like,
someone
you're
and then
like-
they're like moving, like you're like.
I mean, we are golfers. It's to be expected. We are not going to be able to high five. You did a great job. Well, I am, and Golf Sanctuary. So,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you
I
come
actually
out?
talked to this is something me and you can do together. But
Yeah.
I saw Brian yesterday at Lifetime, and I said, hey, I want to do a client appreciation event over at Franklin Bridge.
I would love to do
So
that
just
with you.
You know, open up the bar or whatever. And
That's amazing. Can we wrap it up with a little prayer, Nick? Will you lead us in prayer, please? Just thankfulness.
Dear Lord, thank you so much for this group of people, these amazing women of God. Thank you for bringing us all together. And Lord, as we go out and work for our clients, Lord, let us glorify your name in the process and do nothing but bring you glory and let our clients see you through us. In your wonderful name we pray, Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you
Amen.
so
Thank
much,
you.
Nick. I love you.
It was fun. It was so nice
so
to meet you. Yes,
Do
you
it
did
again
awesome. Yes.
And Nick, maybe you can have us on your podcast.
I love it.
Yeah?